Hello there. It is a wet Wednesday morning here in Seoul. The rainy season is underway. It's been okay, pretty mild here in the city so far. I think they're getting more of it down south. We had a good downpour this morning and then it slacked off, and it's been sprinkling off and on since I've been out here. Hopefully we can get through this shoot today without another massive downpour. We are in Hyehwa-dong right now. We're standing just on the north side of the Hyehwa Rotary, and right there to the south of us, that is the area known as Daehakno University Street. That is the name of the street there. It also applies to the area. And the southern boundaries of Hyehwa-dong stretch in that direction just a little bit. And there's a Hyehwa station over there. It's a Line 4 subway station. There is an administrative neighborhood named Hyehwa-dong, and it encompasses multiple legal neighborhoods. And one of those is also called Hyehwa-dong, and that's what we're focused on today, the boundaries of the legal neighborhood of Hyehwa-dong. Now this street right here, this marks the western boundary of the neighborhood, and the eastern boundary is marked by Hyehwa-mun, which also gives the name to the neighborhood. Hyehwa-mun is one of the minor gates in the old city wall, or was one of the minor gates in the old city wall. Another name for it is Dongso-mun, which means the small east gate. It sits to the north of Dongdae-mun, the great east gate. The formal name of that is Hungin-ji-mun. But we are here today not to talk about history or anything like that. I just want to show you this neighborhood. I really enjoy walking through here, mostly because of the variety of architecture you find here. Development in Hyehwa-dong has happened piecemeal, one building at a time. You haven't seen any massive redevelopment projects here, and it's happened over the course of decades. So you get a nice mix of architecture here. Not only that, some of the architecture here is just different. It breaks the pattern that you see in most neighborhoods where, you go through the different decades, there were different trends of development. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of the structures that were built looked pretty much the same. They followed the same design, had the same materials, roughly the same design. Then you get into the 80s and especially the 90s, you start to see more variety, but still there's trends in materials, right? Trends in the type of facades that they have, but the designs just start to get more, creative, adventurous. But even so, there's somewhat of a sameness to many of the neighborhoods you find in Seoul. I mean, if you walk around Gangnam, the low-rise apartments are different but similar. And if you go over to Mapo district, Mapo-gu, there are neighborhoods there with villas that look very similar to the villas that you find around Gangnam. But the buildings here in Hyehwa-dong are just different. So that's what I brought you here for today. We're going to start by going this way. So there's nothing very special about the buildings on this street. But I do like this one. I like the brickwork on this one. And by the way, you will find several little cafes here on this street particularly, and just off of it. Here's a kalguksu restaurant, what they call knife cut noodles in English, but I just call it kalguksu. Seems kind of strange to call it knife cut noodles in English. Okay, now right here you see what looks to be the remains of an older version of the neighborhood. So you see these little hanoks here down this narrow alley. And I think you'll find that most of the hanoks that are still standing here in Hyehwa-dong were constructed in the 1960s. And I see this little alley lined by hanoks, and I like to think that much of the neighborhood probably looked like this at one point. So here, where you see these villas, there's no doubt there were hanoks here before. No doubt in my mind. And just right next door here, we've got another little alley. Another hanok here. And again, where this villa stands, I'm sure there were hanoks here before. And this villa, actually, this is representative of the kinds of buildings you find all over Gangnam. Those stone tiles, the big stone rectangular tiles, they were trendy in the 90s. So I'm going to guess this building was built in the 90s, possibly the early 2000s. I'll look it up later and see if I'm right. And one thing about Hyehwa-dong, you see a lot of brick. There is a lot of red brick on the buildings here. These are almost certainly from the 90s, the late 90s maybe. And you see these designs. This one looks like a big arrow. I guess it's supposed to be a rooftop up there. I don't know. But you'll see these bricks poking out in different designs on some of these buildings. That was a trend for a while. And I've seen brick patterns like this around in some neighborhoods. There is a whole lot of it here. This one I'm not so sure about. This mixed color brick. This is one of the things I love about wandering through here. There are a bunch of hanoks and traditional style buildings scattered throughout, but also a good bit of vegetation. We've got these wooden boards on the exterior. And look at this thing. It's a mix of the tiles, the 90s style tiles, and what do you call that? Stucco? Or concrete? That's just concrete. Huh. And oh, this has it too, the same thing. But it's got the wood here where this one has the tiles. Let's see, that's interesting. And this one is old. I might put this one in the 80s. I'm not even going to begin to guess when this one was built. And look at this. Man, that's nice. More of the red brick. And look at this, tiles and brick. And here's another big property that has a hanok style house on it. But the interesting thing here about this property, look at this tower. How cool is that? Okay, I just looked it up. This goes back to 1989. This one is 2004. And this one right here, next to the hanok, is 1987. The hanok has no date. Now that could mean it goes back quite a way, but it could also mean the records got lost somewhere. But I would guess without a date, maybe it goes back before 1965, some point. These buildings here even have the same roof design, same materials. Although the bricks on this one are different, even though the roof is the same. I'm not going to go through and give the years on every single building we pass. I'm just trying to get my bearings with some of this. You know, the slate gray tiles are usually easy to recognize. They're indicative of the 90s and the early 2000s. But some of the bricks, the red bricks, it's hard sometimes to know what they indicate. But the point is, there's just such a wide variety here. And look at this one, jeez. This is such a strange mix of bricks and wood and whatever else all this is. Wow. And this looks like a hanok from here on the outside, on the front, but then it's been modified a bit. And then this old late 80s or early 90s building here. And this gate to a property. Okay, the rain is starting to come down again. My camera is okay in the rain. I'm okay in the rain. My microphone, unfortunately, is not. Okay, this brings us out where we started from, which is right down there around the bend. Now you see this right here. This is the Hyehwa-dong Exhibition and Visitor Center. Hyehwa-dong is the Seoul City Wall. And interestingly, this property here, this building, used to be the official residence of the Seoul mayor. I haven't been inside here yet. I really should go. Yeah, you know, these chimneys are always weird. Look at that thing. And here we have Hyehwa Moon, the gate, the minor gate. Go right up this way and along that wall there, and it's on the other side. An old little hanok here. Now we're not going to see the gate in this video. This area right below us here, this is still Hyehwa-dong. This, by the way, is part of the City Wall Trail, this road we're walking on right here. But yeah, right below us, this is still Hyehwa-dong. And on the other side over there, that is Songbuk-dong. I took you on a walk through there at the end of last year, 2025. Now this is nice to walk through. I mean, you've got several hanok down here, but mostly what you're looking at is just your typical Seoul villas, the low-rise apartments that they call villas, with the hanoks interspersed between them. But it's this area up here where we're at now. And these back streets that wind through here, this is the area that I find most interesting to see. You know, I did not pay much attention to these old doors 30 years ago when they were pretty much everywhere. I just thought of them as doors, but they are disappearing. Some neighborhoods I like to walk for their history. Some I like to walk for their winding, narrow alleyways. Some I just like to walk for their architecture. But this one, it really is about the atmosphere. There's something special about Hyehwa-dong. It's not a typical neighborhood. It has its own special feel. You can walk through multiple decades as you go past each of these buildings, and it all adds up to something that just doesn't exist in, say, Gangnam or the corners of the city. And it's really nice to come through here on a rainy day, although it kind of sucks doing it while holding both an umbrella and a camera. If you happen to find yourself in the vicinity of Hyehwa-dong, maybe you're hanging out at Daehakno or exploring Songbuk-dong, or maybe walking the City Wall Trail, go ahead and take a half hour and just wander through these streets. Doesn't take long. It's a relatively small area. Just soak in the atmosphere here, and hopefully you'll appreciate it as much as I do. Thanks for coming along with me today. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.